Welcome to Blooming Wildwood Homestead. We are back in the kitchen today. We have some tomatoes that need to be processed. So today we're going to take a look at canning tomato sauce. This is something that is super versatile, and if you have the sauce already canned, you can make it into spaghetti sauce, use it for pizza sauce. There are different recipes that call for just plain tomato sauce, and you can add that to those kinds of recipes as well. So just a really versatile product to have on your pantry shelf. Look at these beautiful tomatoes. So quite the crop that needs to be processed today, and super excited about this. We are getting a lot of rain today. It's our first soaking rain that we've really had since the first part of June, and fortunately my dad had already picked these tomatoes, so they were not wet and they're good to go and ready to process. Today's recipe comes from a blog article that I had found online from Grow a Good Life, and I will link to that down below in the description. So the first thing it calls for is 22.5 pounds of tomatoes, which I have just gone ahead and weighed out. These wouldn't all fit into the basket, so as you can see here, they're kind of spilling over, but this is 22.5 pounds of tomatoes. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that they're clean, and then we will quarter them up. What is super nice about this particular recipe, you don't have to worry about peeling the tomatoes first, and these are all organically grown, so I'm not concerned at all about any pesticides or anything like that, which is a nice benefit. So basically we're just going to cut them up so that they'll be able to cook down. If you have any spots like this here, some of them have a little bit of blossom end rot, you can just trim that off and put that in the compost. I'm not worried about the stem area. I did take off the stem, but the stem itself is not, the stem area itself is not an issue. We will be running that through the food mill, so I won't have to worry about anything sticking around that I don't want. Most of these tomatoes are pretty good. There's not a lot of blossom end rot that needs to be trimmed off. You do want to make sure that you use more of a sauce type tomato. These are a mixture of varieties. I would say the majority are probably Amish paste right now, which are more of that Roma style paste tomato. There are also some Novas in here. That would be some of these smaller Roma looking tomatoes. And then I'm not sure if we still had Stupus left, but there might be some Stupus in here as well. So those are all great open pollinated varieties that you can use for saucing or salsa, anything that requires a little meatier texture. Basically, this is what I'm going to do with the rest of, or with all of the tomatoes, and then I will show you the next step here in a few minutes. All of the tomatoes are now chopped up and ready to go. You definitely want to have a larger pan for this project. I am super glad that I have this heavier duty pan for all of my canning stuff, just because you're doing a larger volume and you need something that it will be able to fit in, and you need something a little bit heavier duty so that it's not scorching and burning so easily. So I don't know, I didn't get this online. Actually it was a gift, but I will check and see if I can find something similar and link it down below for you. Right now we're gonna go ahead and chop up our onions. We need 3 cups of onions, and then 6 cloves of garlic, which we'll mince up and saute just a little bit so that we can have them pre-softened before they go into the pot. Today I'm going to use some red onion just because that's what we've got available to us. You can definitely use a yellow onion, that would be fine. any of those will do the job. We're gonna go ahead and peel these. Since we're just sauteing this, I'm not really too worried about it being too finely chopped. We'll just kind of coarsely chop it. We're looking for 3 cups here. This is gonna be a little more than 3 cups, but I'm not too worried about that. I'll probably just pop it all in. And then we wanna add the garlic. It does call for 6 cloves of garlic. I absolutely love garlic flavor. So I'm gonna put in a couple extra cloves, but you can do with that as you like. All right, we're gonna go ahead and mince the garlic. All right, I'm just gonna add this to the onions for easy transport to the saucepan. Or saute pan, I should say, not the saucepan. We've added about a 1/4 cup of oil here, olive oil here, and we're gonna let that heat up just a little bit before I put in the onion and garlic mixture. Now that the pot or the pan is warm, I'm gonna go ahead and add the onions. I wish you could smell this right now. There's nothing better than fresh onion and garlic sauteing. Oh my goodness. You can see the massive size difference here between the big stock pot and the saute pan. We're gonna add the onions and garlic to our tomatoes. We're going to turn this down on more of a medium-low temperature. We're gonna bring this to a simmer, and we wanna stir that onion and garlic mixture in. Our goal right now is to get everything cooked down so that it's soft and it'll be able to run through the food mill. So I'll keep cooking here. According to the recipe, it should take about 20 minutes. So we'll see how that goes, and then I will meet you back when everything's soft and ready to go. Our tomatoes have now cooked down and they are looking great. It's very soft, and this will be able to go through the food mill just fine. So we are going to go ahead and prepare the food mill and squish all the sauce out of these tomatoes. So I've gone ahead and moved the tomatoes over near the sink. We're gonna go ahead and put those through a food strainer. I think earlier I told you we were gonna put them through a food mill. The recipe did talk about using a food mill, and honestly, I didn't really know what this was called. I've used this particular item for years. I've used it for applesauce. I use it for making chili sauce. Any of the saucy kinds of things, I've used this. So I went to look up the proper name for it, and come to find out it is actually considered to be vintage. So even though I don't think of myself as being old enough for vintage, I guess I use vintage canning supplies, which you can find something exactly like it on eBay, or you can find similar items on Amazon that are definitely an updated version. But I guess the technical, the proper name is a food strainer. And what we're gonna do here, you wanna be super careful that you're not getting steam in your face or hot splashes on you. But we're just gonna go ahead and squish all of this down until we have a pretty dry pulp left. You want to squish this as dry as you can. So the more you can squish out of it, the more it's going to help your sauce to thicken a little bit, because you're going to be getting more of that meaty part of the tomato. And you can see here that we don't really have much left. There's just a little bit of the tomato peel and a little bit of the onion still left. So I'm gonna go ahead and empty that part out. And this can either go to chickens if you have them on your homestead, or you could put the peels and things in your compost and have that break down and use for future things as well. So I'm going to continue on with this process, and then I will meet you back here after everything is run through the food strainer, vintage style apparently. Now that I ran all of the tomatoes and onions through the food strainer, I went ahead and added a few of the herbs that the recipe called for. I added the oregano and the black pepper. I also added a little bit of sugar, not much though. And we're gonna go ahead and let this cook down and thicken up so that it's more of the tomato sauce consistency that I'm looking for. The recipe calls for cooking it down about halfway, which will definitely be pretty thick. I'm probably gonna eyeball it and just see when it's a good consistency for me and what I need it for. Well, here we are after having cooked this down a bit, and one recipe modification, it was not thickening up as much as I wanted it to, so I did add 4 cans of tomato paste, organic tomato paste, in order to help thicken this up and speed things along a little bit. And as you can see now, it's a little bit thicker than it was before. Anything that I'm going to use this for, if I'm doing spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce, I'm probably going to cook this down some more when I go to use it, and I'll add other seasonings or spices in there as well. So the flavor is really good. It's got a nice, just a nice tomato flavor, and I think it'll be really versatile. I'm probably going to go ahead and put this into the jar, and then like I said, if I need to cook it down some more as I go to use it, I can definitely do that as well. Here I have the pint jars that have already been sterilized. They came out of the dishwasher warm, and I've added a tablespoon of bottled lemon juice to each one, just to make sure that the acidity is proper for water bath canning. And then of course, I think I've shown you this before, but my favorite canning scoop, I'll be using that as well as the funnel, and we'll get the sauce in the jars. I don't know for sure how many we're going to get. The recipe said that it usually yields about 12 pints. So we'll see how we do here. And we're gonna fill that up to about, leaving about a ½ inch of headspace at the top. All right, this is just absolutely gorgeous looking sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of it in jars. While that is in jars, I'm gonna go ahead and start the canner, get that heating up so that the water is warm, and I'm not putting hot jars and hot product into a cold canner. We wanna make sure that we keep things from breaking as much as we can control that. So I have the lids in the saucepan, covered them with water. I'm gonna go ahead and bring those to a boil. While that is happening, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe down all of my rims so that the jar is completely clean, and when we go to put the lid on there, it's going to have the ability to seal the best that it can. Okay, our lids are hot and ready to go. I have this little gadget. It isn't necessary, but I really enjoy using it. It has a magnet on the end, and it just helps you to be able to pick up those hot lids without burning your fingers, which, you know, can be really helpful, especially if you are doing a lot of canning. And then we'll go ahead and put these into the canner. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your favorite tomato products to can? And I would love to know, what variety of tomatoes do you like to use best? I've gone ahead and loaded up my hot water bath here, and I was able to get 10 in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and cover up the other ones with a towel to keep them warm until these come off. These will boil for 35 minutes, and then I'll take them out and let them set overnight. Here we have our beautiful tomato sauce, and you can see it just canned up perfectly. Like I said, you can use this for spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, any recipes that call for tomato sauce. If for some reason you still needed it to be thicker, you can always continue to let it cook down in any one of those applications. So I hope that you were able to learn something from today's video, and maybe you will be challenged to try some tomato sauce with some of your extra tomatoes as well. And until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next one. Bye everyone.